What's up everyone, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. Today video we'll be talking about the Ultra Deluxe Dahao Banner. We have UDX Alloces and Dahao, two limited styles that are good, and then we also be talking about Ottoman and Shen, two platinum styles that are not limited, will be added to the later platinum pool, and you don't need to summon them now. Well, Alloces is a powerhouse, a very powerful character that can do very different damage. He's a pierce attacker that don't do pierce damage. Yes, he's focusing on blunt, heat, and slash. So it's good to have a character that's kind of different than others, and he's more made for farming than for boss fights, but more into that later. First of all, he has 110% STR. He was buffed in global, now he has the same values as Gustav and Gustave, the last UDX banner that many people summoned, some didn't, and his endurance is 100%. And he has the same bonuses for each status, so you can see that he's focusing on receiving less physical damage since his will is pretty bad. His dexterity is on 79, it's good enough for current game, and 86 agility is not bad, and he's kinda easy to use because he can be placed on the front line of an Amazon Raid X formation if you want to guarantee that he goes first when you're farming. Well, for abilities we have Power Charge number 3, that gives him plus 3 BP on the start of a battle. This allows him to use a powerful nuke on turn 1, but more into that later. The second passive is called Raging Roar on the start of a round, so in boss fights it only triggers once. He gets a very large boost to his damage, and also a buff to his STR. The very large boost is 30%, and the STR buff is 20%. This is the same thing we got in the past with Bertrand. But Bertrand increases intelligence instead of STR because he's a magical unit. So Bertrand is a farming style. This is the same case with Alloces. Save some specific boss fights. Okay, then the last one is fired up 5 that gives him 20% increase in damage. So in the end what we have here is 20% increase in damage at all times, 50% increase in damage on turn 1, a buff to STR on the start of every round, and 13 BP on start. Okay, for skills we have Branding Iron. This is a 3 BP attack that deals both blunt and heat damage. It's critical against bone enemies. It's pretty nice because bone enemies are usually already weak to blunt and heat, so you get extra damage, and there is a chance to reduce STR by medium effect. So most debuffs with low cost are only small effects, so they only debuff 15. He'll be debuffing 20, and he can use this all the time because it's only 3 BP. The only problem is his intelligence, that is very low. If you are in a boss fight and you are using Metrock, you probably already buff his STR and intelligence to help out while doing damage and debuffing. So this is the case that I said that he can work in boss fights. But he doesn't have a nuke, so that's why this version of him is more geared towards farming. Well, we do have another attack called Rock Smash. This one is a 6 BP AOE attack with both blunt and heat damage again. This is nice, but let's compare him to some other style that we got in the past, that is Forneus. I want to talk about Forneus because, look, he also has an STR buff on the start, he has fired up 5, he doesn't have that increase on turn 1, but after turn 1, they are pretty similar, although his STR is a little lower. And he does have access to 2 attacks that has, well, similar power. In the case of Alloces, he only uses 6 BP, in the case of Forneus, he uses 8. And you see here it has an 18 modifier for both pierce and cold. Very different, but they can be used on similar farming setups for different elements. In the case of Forneus, he also has access to another attack called Spinning Trample that go as much as 20 modifier. But Forneus can only attack twice in a row with his human version because of such a high cost. Now, Alloces loses just a little power, but he does have higher status and higher passives for a very similar power, but covering blunt and heat. Because he can be used 3 times in a row, if you want to use him on an Amazon Raid X formation, for example, and you guarantee that he goes first, this will be pretty powerful. For characters that can attack 3 times in a row, this is much as we get for constant damage. Now, the last skill is Scorching Comets. This is an AoE attack with 13 BP cost that deals slash and heat damage, S power and 39 modifier. This is extremely good. Well, it is now the strongest turn 1 damage in the game. One thing that we need to consider is that this is essentially Will Swing Plus with the heat damage added. Well, we just got Gustave. Yeah, this one a little too big, and he does have access to Will Swing Plus as well. And he also starts with 13 BP. Will Swing Plus has exactly the same power. So they will be very strong together, since Gustave also increased STR from the party. When we compare this, we can also talk about other styles like, well, Gustave, because this one also has an AoE opener with heat, although his damage for AoE is way lower. Look, it's B modifier only. And then we have characters like, you know, Emperor. Emperor can open with Will Swing Plus, but he does need a premium S style to get Will Swing Plus. He only has 40% passives, it does not do as much damage as the other options. There's also Leonard, another character that does that. And Leonard has access to Will Swing Plus by an S style. That is also Platinum, it's not limited. And when we talk about the slash part, it's pretty normal. Many people can do this much damage with Will Swing Plus. But his version will be stronger. Not just will be stronger, but also he deals hit damage and will be the strongest turn 1 AoE hit damage in the game too. It will be very easy to combo Scorching Comments with other slash attackers. I just mentioned the Will Swing Plus users. There is also Leon. Leon will give a boost to the damage for Alloces and also attacks on the second wave with his fast attack. You can also use the latest Urpina just fine. They will just work. Now, you may also want to combo his hit damage with other characters. That would be a little harder, but at least we do have a character like Saruin. If you have 2 waves and you want Saruin to attack on the second wave, he can just use Demise. This one is Shadow and Heat, you combo the heat part. And the damage is pretty high as well. But you may need to use Rainbow Rangers, since it's the only formation that will give 50% increase to their status. At least Saruin does have a lower agility, so you can kinda compensate with this. Then we have another option, and that one is Dora. Dora will be easy to use on Rainbow Rangers because she also goes for turn 1. And it's funny talking about Dora because Thunder Blow is a very powerful attack, but very similar modifier is 39 against 40. Dora needed to take recoil damage to compensate having such a powerful attack on turn 1, while Alloces don't take recoil damage, he loses nothing. So it also has higher status and higher damage passives. So the way that you use it, Dora to this point, when you use Alloces you get higher damage, but at least they still have different elements. Dora also hits for lightning, that's pretty rare and unique. This will still make Dora useful, and on Rainbow Rangers you can just use them together easily. And if you have summoned for UDX Alloces, you can use the attack called Ablation Dance that buffs 25% damage for slash attacks and 25% damage for heat attacks, totalizing a 50% increase since it stacks. The only problem is that Alloces is a single target specialist, while Alloces is more of an AoE nuker. So you are using a single target attack followed up for an AoE just to boost your damage. Let's talk about JP. In JP, they have a different style of him, and this one has 110% STR, the same values as we have for the current style, and it does offer plenty of good inheritances to use with the current UDX. Brings a 3BP AoE attack, but this one, it's blunt and pierce instead, so may not work so well depending on the enemies you are facing. Start with slash and hit and switches to pierce and blunt. Well, then we have Burning Hell. This one is pierce and heat attack, and you can use it 2 times in a row because of heat starting with 13. And another attack that's pierce and blunt that can be used twice in a row. But this one is an AoE B power, pretty nice to use with the first one. But then you ask yourself, he does have some problems with his AoE cycling. If he goes for Scorching Comments, he doesn't have a follow-up. You will get one with his future style, but it's even with different elements, and you'll be stuck into grinding iron. Let's say that you have an event with 2 waves, and the first wave is plenty of enemies, you kill them with Scorching Comments, and the real boss on the second wave. At least he will help contribute damage with Branding Iron, but he will not be the boss killer in this scenario. But if you want to farm 3 waves, you will just use Rock Smash 3 times in a row, with very good power. So in the future he'll also be able to cycle single target attacks, but not now. You see that there's some restriction with his usage. If it's an event with only one wave, well, Scorching Comets will be amazing. But if there's more than that, you have to reduce your expectation in damage to use a different cycle. I do believe that Alloces is pretty powerful. I am thinking about his final grade in the tier list. Right now, it's a very high double S grade, but people are saying that he's just so powerful with his attack that he deserves a triple S. I am not so sure because of this problem with his cycling, and he also not offering multiple ways to handle content. Like he doesn't have any single target nuke, and there's no S style to inherit anything from. He is what you see now, but he does get better in the future, and it will be on a very good banner. In my opinion, this guy will be receiving a double S, very high grade. Alloces will be facing some competition with one character in the future. This banner should be coming in 2 months or so, and it's the Perfector banner from JP. This banner will be very good because it brings Cordelia, one of the strongest damage dealers by the time, and it brings Rick, Will, and Genie. This Rick here has an AOE opener for slash and hit. It's the same power, same modifier, and he already comes with a cheap AOE attack as well. So he just cycle AOE forever for the same elements. Now it's time to talk about Dahao, and differently than Alloces, Dahao does have inheritances from an S style from story. She's a character that was pretty used in JP, but I don't know if she will be as popular in global. First of all, she has 89% agility, that's pretty good. Her intelligence is 110%, that's kinda high as well. Her will is good because just like any other mage, her love is pretty high, and I'll explain about that because she has a passive called Dare to Hope Tree. This one allows her to heal everyone when she dies. Yeah, and this was pretty popular on JP because there they didn't have, Steel Blade Light, their Shining Lore was not as good. They didn't have Global X Undine with a second source for Ring of Life. They did get another character with Ring of Life later down the road, but Dahao came first. And they needed AoE heal, so Dahao has a way to heal the party when she dies, so you needed to place her on the front. And while that, she is also a good debuffer. Look, 110% intelligence is pretty good, and her endurance is pretty bad. Some people were using her against physical boss and allowing her to die, just to revive her, to die again and keep healing against damage. But if other people die before her, she cannot revive them, so it only heals all surviving allies' HP. But this Dare to Hope tree is the best Dare to Hope that exists. It heals around 1.3 thousand when she dies, and her love is even very high, so yeah. The second passive is called Inhibitor Tree. So on the start of a round, she reduces all enemies' dexterity and agility. This is actually a very good passive, but it's only on the start of a round. For a long fight, it doesn't matter too much. But if your boss deals very good damage right from the start, having this will help, because she also has other ways to debuff. Then the only damage passive that she has is Fire Up 5, 20% increase in damage at all times. Well, we need to talk about her skills, and the first one is Wind Vortex. This is a 4 BP AoE slash attack with deep power and 10 modifier. It's actually kinda too costly. Well, when you compare this to Bune has similar damage, and well, her skills are way better. She has also debuff together. See, you lose a little of power, but you get dexterity debuff, or you get an agility debuff. It's much more value than just having a little extra power on the skill itself on a character that is not exactly focused on damage, because only one damage passive, with no other effect. If this was 3VP, it would be okay, but 4, not so much. Then we have the second skill called Heaven's Breeze. This one is also a very important thing in her build. It's a 6 PP attack that will debuff two things: agility and dexterity, by small effect, that is 15% on max level. The damage is actually pretty good, A power 31 modifier. This is what we want from the 6 PP skill, at least. And it deals slash damage like all her attacks. So, you start the fight debuffing dexterity and agility, and you have a skill that debuffs dexterity and agility again. So, you can start the fight, debuff it on turn 1, and then you still have enough VP to debuff that again on turn 3. Sometimes this will be enough to stop bosses that deal attacks with dexterity or agility. Well, some bosses just do like plenty of different attacks, and if they are focused on dexterity and agility, you stop this damage right from the start. But then after that you have to skip one turn to debuff. While sometimes you may just need to focus on a single one. If a boss is more about martial arts attack, it's better to just debuff agility. If a boss is more about just, you know, happier attacks, gun attacks, it's better to just debuff dexterity. And you need a different debuffer that can keep debuffing. But there's one good thing about Heaven's Breeze. Sometimes a boss will have a Darsold, like we have Darsold with Creator on Tower, and you cannot debuff more than 30%. You can debuff 30, but you cannot debuff 35, for example. So, the cycle that she gets access to, like skipping one turn, will be exactly what you can do as a debuff. You cannot go more than that. So, having to skip a turn will actually be a blessing, because you will not accidentally get to the Darsold. But since she does not have any 0 BP skill, you have to use the normal attack from the mage. At least it buffs intelligence, and she would just get higher intelligence to never miss the debuff part and do a little more damage with Heaven's Breeze. Okay, then the last skill is called Supersonic. This is a 13 BP attack that's actually pretty powerful. Remember we were talking about S power, 39, 40 modifier, but this is only on turn 2. It's not a fast attack as well, but her agility is pretty high nonetheless, and deals critical damage against beasts and insects. We do have plenty of beasts and insects in the game, so the damage will be pretty nice. But in the future we'll get an upgrade to another attack called Tornado Blade. We already have Will Swing Plus, it's pretty powerful. Then we'll get Tornado Blade, that's double S power. So you would not need this attack, it's just an extra thing for farming. But like I said again, she's not exactly made for farming, because after using Supersonic, she cannot even use Wind Vortex. She doesn't have enough VP. That's why I wanted them to fix this Wind Vortex, so that she could at least attack on turn 3 with AoE, but she can't. So more for those that are missing out on plenty of slash damage dealers. Now for Inheritance we have 3 different skills. First one is Airbolt, a single target attack that helps her single target cycle, because she can use Heaven's Breeze twice, and then she would just keep using Airbolt here. A full single target setup for raids and farming where there's only, you know, one enemy and you need more than one turn. It works. Then the second one is Dancing Leaves. This is actually pretty good. It decreases damage by 50% to one character, but the effect it's only one turn. Yeah. And this is something that we also have with Bunny, second style. See here, Dancing Leaves, 50% decreasing damage for one turn. This is only for counter characters that don't negate damage, like Princess Lion benefits from this. Now, the last one is Cyclone, that can get upgraded to Cyclone Plus. This is an 8 PP AoE slash attack. It's actually pretty good for the coast. The problem is that Dahao cannot use 2 times in a row, so she can only use that turn 2 and turn 3, or turn 1 and turn 3. And like I said, she's not exactly made for farming. With only 1 damage passive, the damage won't be that good. So, in the end, Dahao is more of a boss specialist, can be used well on raids, and Dare to Hope makes her pretty interesting for those that don't have AoE heals like Ring of Life or Steelblade Light, and she goes well also for those that skip it. Bunny. All the different versions of Bunny makes Bunny so powerful. If I can just debuff one status, I'll always bring Bunny, because she just gets stronger by buffing her intelligence. She also has this amazing counter attack here that triggers a lot on boss fights. And Bunny also has a very good nuke when she wants to nuke on overdrive. While, in the end, Dahao is more of a supporter and debuffer than a real damage dealer. Still, a lot of things on the same unit, and if you are missing the things I said, it's a good character. And I'll be giving also a double S grade for Dahao. Now we will talk about Ottoman, and we did get a welfare version of Ottoman some time ago, and you need this one to make him even better. And you see that he has higher status for everything when compared to the welfare, higher STR, endurance, dexterity, agility, intelligence, will. You only lose on love and charisma, but just forget about that. Okay, so Ottoman is actually a very good Platinum style. He doesn't have such a high STR, he only stops on 89 with 14 as a bonus. His second most important status is agility, so that he can debuff the enemy before the enemy attacks, and bonus for agility as well. His endurance and dexterity are on average levels and nothing to run home about. His will is also a little good. Well, he does have similar values for endurance and will, because he can be used on both content. His love and charisma are pretty bad, but yo, forget about this. Well, for passives, the first one we have Weakening for STR. This one is amazing for a debuffer because it triggers on the start of a turn and not with an attack. So it will trigger before the enemy even attacks. It will reduce the enemy STR by 20%, but it only triggers 25% of the time. Still pretty good, even better than many other debuff passives that we have. The second one is Absorbing Fury. When he attacks, he recovers HP. It's a 37% chance and the value is medium. He will be healing for around, I don't know, 600 because his charisma is not so good. Then he has Overtension, 15% increase in damage at all times, 30% on combo, 45% on overdrive. It's good because you may use his nuke attack on overdrive to help finishing an enemy, but besides that, you get the constant 15% increase in damage to help out a little. Okay, for skills we have Dual Wielding Stance. This one is amazing, and yeah, we have this with Gustav, we also with Urpina. It just gives yourself plus 3 BP. So in turns that you cannot debuff because you don't have BP, you will recover so that you can keep using further. Then the second skill is called Lateral Flash. This one is a row attack that debuffs STR. Wow, row attack that debuffs STR. Row attack with S power, 39 modifier, again this modifier, 39. Yeah, starting with this attack, we start getting better row attacks and better column attack with higher damage output. Only 8 PP for this is amazing, but it's just too circumstantial. And also debuffs STR by 20% instead of just 15. Very niche attack that works when it works. Remember, his intelligence is pretty high, so it's not a problem. Then the second attack is called Dark Flowing Slash. This one, it's a double S power 49, and he has a chance to reduce STR. This time is 30%. And Dark Flowing Slash is an attack that you can see also with Victor, another Platinum unit. But Victor is not as good as Ottoman. He does not have the intelligence, look, only 40. And he will just keep missing debuffs. Also, it's not built for debuff. Because this is so costly, you can just use Dark Flowing Slash and then just use Dual Wielding Stance when you don't have VP, and then you just use Dark Flowing Slash again if you want, because this debuffs 30%. But there is a thing here. We have Acupuncture Plus with plenty of different characters. That's a triple S attack. Well, in this case, it's Pierce instead of Slash, and debuffs 30% STR as well, but with a guarantee. We just got an S style of Matriarch as well. So those that have Matriarch can just use that attack too with her S style. Even if you didn't get any SS style of Matriarch, she's exactly an okay character to use the Acupuncture Plus. So I think that you're better using a different attack. But this attack will come from his Welfare style. This is this attack here called Sword Chain. This is a 5 BP attack that deals both slash and pierce damage, B power, 22 modifier, exactly pretty good for coast. And this one debuffs intelligence. So he's a better intelligence debuffer than STR for many people, since he has less competition on the intelligence debuff part. And he also has access to an 8 PP attack that has similar power. As you can see here, is 50 against 49, it's even stronger if you want a nuke. So yeah, Ottoman is a pretty good Platinum character, having access to 2 different debuff strategies with high intelligence, and will work for many people that are missing premium debuffers just fine. He will receive probably a very high S grade in our tier list because of his utility. Now, we'll talk about the last version of Shendu. Yeah, we did get the limited style called A Pledge to You. Now we have the Platinum style called Windmaster Dahao. Well, this one doesn't have such a high endurance. Well, the dexterity is lower, but you don't need. It does have a little higher agility, higher intelligence than a premium style, similar will, and, well, love and charisma don't matter. This Shendu is built for long fights if you want damage, while the other one is more of a utility character with his Gale Cycle that buffs agility. And, well, Shendu is overkill when you have Nao's daughter in Matriarch, but sometimes there are challenges where Shendu just helps. He's just like that extra help to allow you to evade in evasion strategies. Because of that, you will always have Shendu trained if you have him, and now you can bring this version for farming. Okay, so first passive is called Intelligence Surge. This one gives an intelligence buff to himself when he hits for weak attacks. The buff is 20%, so For long fights, he just keeps buffing. You can also inherit Gale's cycle if you want to just buff agility and keep this Shen instead of the other one. Then we have the second passive called Slash Imp, and this one gives him 20% increase in damage for all his slash attacks. Well, he is a slash damage dealer, so it works all the time. Then the last one is Overtension, giving him 15% at all times, 30% on combo, and 45% on overdrive. Well, like I said, this guy will be stronger on long fights, and it's more offensive than this one, but this one also gives Gale Blasting. This is a very nice passive, so it also has a chance to negate damage completely. I don't know, it's a trade-off. If you want damage, you can go with this one. So all of his spells are slash based. Zephyr is the first one, 3 BP for an AoE attack with E power and 8 modifier. This is just like all of Bune's cheap AoEs. But this one gives himself a guard up buff. This decreases damage by 12% for 2 turns, nothing so special. The second skill is called Storm Blasting, 6 BP for A power 30 modifier, and recovers his own HP, and the recover is not bad. It will be recovering himself for 800 or something. His last spell is called Tornado Plus, a 10 BP attack for AoE damage, A power 29 modifier, so pretty nice for the coast, and it gives critical damage against flowing enemies. Well, there are plenty of flowing enemies and they are sometimes weak to slash, so very nice for this combo. And it also has a low chance to inflict stun. With such a high intelligence, the low chance is actually pretty nice. So the good thing about Tornado is that it also allows him to just keep using AoE with Zephyr after that. So you can use AoE forever, and if there is some situations where you need constant damage, the damage will be good, since he just keeps buffing his own intelligence by attacking weak targets. His passives are not so bad, remember, 30% increase in damage at all times, so a good damage dealer, yes, indeed. Being Platinum just makes it even easier. People will be able to use him if they are missing some AoE slash damage dealers. He combos well with Bune too if you want, and they can just farm easily on Animal Stream formation. You do have access to some other spells if you want by inheritance, like he can inflict sleep to all enemies with 7 BP. And there is also this other attack that inflicts stun, but it's super terrible. Forget about this. The other one is way better. His Needle Shot can be inherited if you want to just use single target for 3 turns. So he uses Storm Blasting twice, and then he uses Needle Shot later. So he does have access to mid-damage single target cycles, or good opener and weak cycles for AoE. So for being Platinum, Shindu is pretty good, and will be even better for those that skip it Bune. He will receive an S grade in our tier list, and at least you don't need to get him now, he will be there on the future on your Platinum banner. Now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, yes and no. It depends on the characters that you just summoned recently. Like, if you summoned it for Gustave banner and you got both Gustave and Gustav, you can kinda replace Alloces with 10. Although Alloces has the strongest AoE, turn 1 damage for slash and hit, sometimes it's not just about the big numbers. He doesn't have a single target cycle for farming. And then his AoE build does not have a cheap AoE follow attack. So there are some restrictions to how Alloces operates. And if you have Bune 1 and Bune 3, you have agility and dexterity debuff. Dahao offers this as well. Dahao has a better turn 1 debuff because she debuffs by passive, but all content that you can clear with one will also be clearable with another. Dahao is better in JP because of allowing AoE healing by death, and this is something that we don't need as much in global if you have UDX Network or Steelblade Light users. They are more reliable. And Ottoman and Shindu are good, but they are Platinum styles. So I'll be giving this banner a silver award, but well, I still prefer Gustave banner, or even better, the new UDX 3-1 banner will offer more value for most people. Urpina is a very interesting character that can operate in specific stages, and there's nothing that can replace her besides maybe for news and maybe Golden Lion. And there's also Death there, a very good character that can be used in War Tower and makes it so much easier. 5 characters there, 5 limited ones, and if you don't have any of them, if you are a new player, that banner will offer more value. If you are a veteran and you miss the characters I just mentioned, this one will give you a little more value as well. But if you do have everything I mentioned, it's more about if you like the characters or not, because they will not be offering as much as you think. There are replacements in the future, but that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comments. So far, I'm focusing on Gustav and Gustav banner, and I want to get those 2 characters. If I get them early, I may summon for this banner, but I don't see much need for me right now. That's it. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. Don't forget to click the like button. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.